Hi students, 4.3 solving quadratics using square roots. So how can you determine if the number of solutions of a quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0? So the way that we do that is we're going to look at the solutions when x squared equals d. D is obviously your answers, your solutions. So if that answer is greater than 0, then we're going to have two real solutions. We're going to have a plus or minus square root of that number. It could be a perfect square or it could not be one. When d is equal to 0, we only have one real solution, x is equal to 0. This is kind of like a guideline. When d is less than 0, we have what we call no real solutions, okay? And so, again, we're using square roots. We're solving by square roots. So we've already been taught the graphing. We've already been taught solving quadratics by factoring, graphing, and the third method is going to be by using square roots. Now, there's other methods, but we're not going to get into those because we are running out of time. As far as like when we put together the pacing calendar, we've decided that these are the most important ones that we want to cover, okay? So example 1 is to solve quadratic equations using square roots. So basically what you do is you identify what your variable's at, and our goal is to solve for x. So let's go ahead and add 27 to both sides. And you end up with 3x squared is equal to 27. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So we're solving for x. Divide by 3, and you end up with x squared is equal to 9. And because we have x squared, to get rid of that, we want to solve for x, we take the square root. And when you take the square root, that cancels out, and you're left with x equals plus or minus 3. So that means that x is equal to a positive 3 and a negative 3. Okay, and there's your answer. All right, let's do it one more time. Again, this is an example of two real solutions. If you look up here, we know that d is greater than 0, d is 3, so we know we have a plus or minus 3. All right, so let's go ahead and, whoops, sorry, I didn't want to highlight negative 10. So let's add 10 to both sides. Let me use this one. X squared is equal to 0. I know that I'm going to have one real solution, which means that x is going to equal to 0. So d is equal to 0. That's what we have here. Take the square root. X is equal to 0. Okay, almost done, students. We have one more solving quadratics by using square roots. Again, identify where your x squared is at, and let's go ahead and get rid of that positive 11 by subtracting 11. Negative 5x squared is equal to 5. Divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. X squared is equal to negative 1. Now you have to remember we're taking the square root, but if you look at this, we know that d is less than 0, and we call that no real solutions because you cannot take the square root of a negative number. X is equal to square root of negative 1, and then what I would do is cross that out and put no real solutions. Okay, and there's your answer. Now, what happens when you have parentheses and the entire thing is squared? I'm going to show you the first step. Okay, and we are actually going to write these steps down. So because this is all under parentheses and the entire thing is squared, we need to get rid of this squared first. So the first step is take the square root of both sides, and that's going to cancel out. Whoops. Going to take the square root. And you're left with x minus 1 equals plus or minus 5, right? This is a perfect square, so plus or minus 5. So how you're going to write this out is going to look like this. Whoa, what am I doing here? Sorry. 2, we're actually square root of 25 is equal to 5. And then 3, we're going to add 1 to both sides. So plus 1. Now do not put it underneath here. I'm actually going to rewrite this, and it's going to look like this. X is equal to 1 plus or minus 5. So you're going to have two answers. 1 plus 5, and then x is equal to 1 minus 5. So x is equal to 6 or negative 4. So all I did was separate this plus or minus. I separated them. Here's your plus, here's your minus, and then we solve. Okay. Number 21 out of your textbook, we're going to do the exact same thing here. Take the square root. You end up with 2x minus 1 is equal to, this is a perfect square. Okay, it is plus or minus 9. So watch what happens. Plus 1, plus 1. So I'm going to rewrite this 2x is equal to 1 plus or minus 9. And we're going to have two answers. Divide by 2. So x is equal to 1 plus or minus 9 divided by 2. I'm going to separate. And here's 1 and here's the other. So we're 1 plus 9, divide that by 2, and then 1 minus 9, divide that by 2. And we end up with 10 divided by 2 is 5. And here we end up with negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So x is equal to 5, negative 4. Okay. Again, you can do this in your head, but you're still going to have to show some work, right?